Hello, I'm still Incarnate, bringing you all the latest indie gaming goodness. Today is the second part of my Project Zomboid Hardcore Survival Guide. Today we will be exploring the surrounding area of our base. If you missed the last episode, we basically started off in one of the high-rise buildings. We quickly located the hardware store, which is now our current residence. There are some areas around here that have some very good loot, but my main objective today is to fill my fridge with food. We have a lot of supplies here, but we don't have a lot of food. I've got around 3 days worth of food supplies. I managed to pilfer some food from the local supermarket, but there was not a lot of food to be had there either. So what we're going to do today is, the first thing I'm going to do is put in an exit to the base where we are currently in. We're going to do this via a sheet rope. All we need for this is a nail and a couple of sheets which we've put together from a dead zombie's clothing. And as you can see, we now have a safe way in and out of the base. So here we are in our new home. I'm going to go to the bookstore before we go looking for food, and there's only one book I critically need at the moment, and that's the carpentry book. If I can get my hands on a carpentry book, I can start making some makeshift weapons. Now, this place was very packed the previous day, so I'm guessing whilst I was asleep, a gunshot or another meta event set the zombies off in another direction. So we've earned ourselves a bit of a reprieve today. But I really want the cooking book and the carpentry book. We're going to eventually take all of these books back to my home base for convenience. I'm going to take the bone working book because I can make some bone shivs. And that means that for the sake of convenience, I won't need to cut up trees. I'll be able to fillet zombies or cut zombies to pieces and use their bones as a knife. Not the smartest thing to do in a zombie apocalypse, but it's a very cheap and easy to make weapon if you've got the right tools to cut the zombies up. Now we've got a farming book, and there's a carpentry for intermediates book. I want the carpentry for beginners book at the moment. Now this is a very big store, so my chances of finding the book I'm after are pretty good. We're just going to have to, here we go, there's our carpentry for beginners. Excellent. So I'm not going to read that right now because we do need some supplies, some food. And I would also like to get my hands on some water containers. Now, it's very likely that the power and the water may go off soon. And this store up here, it's a Gigamart. So this looks like a large supermarket. And if this place isn't alarmed, we're going to be in a good shape. Okay, excellent. So what we want to do is get all of the food that's unrefrigerated. And we're going to take it and we're going to refrigerate it. All of this food will go off in a day or two if I don't put it somewhere where it will remain fresh. But it was incredibly lucky that we could find a store that was fully stocked in the way that this is, so this is really good. As you can see, because there's so much in the way of food here, we'll have enough fresh food to last us at least 3 or 4 months. If I was to leave this food though, it would quickly rot and become useless within 2 or 3 days. So what we want to do is, priority A1 is get all of this food into a refrigerated container or a freezer before it goes bad, because that'd be a waste. Now, I've already got my Alice pack is now half full. We're going to keep grabbing all of this. There's a lot of really good food here. I didn't know that there was a Gigamart so close to my home base. And I wasn't expecting it to be completely unguarded. So we've pretty much been able to walk straight in and grab all of this food. All of this is going to go back into our fridge, and the food should at least remain good for a month or 2. And when the food does eventually go rotten, we can also use it for compost, so it will be useful. Now I've nearly completely filled my backpack, and the interesting thing is I'm not actually going to have enough room to store all of this in my fridge. We've literally got that much food that my fridge simply is not big enough to store all of this, so that's not a big deal. What we will do is I'll store it in one of the nearby fridges. If I leave it where it is going to go rotten, so that's just going to be a waste. This is fantastic though. Even though the other nearby convenience store was virtually empty, this place is fully stocked. Oh, and there's even more food out here. This is fantastic. So the problem of food is now officially solved. What I'll do is I'm going to go back to my home base, and I'm going to cram all of this food into my fridge, and then I'm going to come back here and I'm going to get the rest of it. And I'm basically going to get all of the food that is going to go off and put it into a refrigerator either in my base or near my base. Now, an interesting thing is that because I'm an electrician, it may be possible for me to relocate another fridge. So you actually pick a fridge up and move it. So we might try that. I've never entertained the idea because I've never been a electrician before. We'll come back to those guys. I want to get this food into the fridge as quick as I can. So this definitely has been a really, really good start for me. This fridge is virtually empty. We'll take that raspberry juice out and put it. That's not going to go off. Same as lemonade. Beautiful. So now begins the tedious job of cramming the refrigerator full of food. So this is a really, really good turn of events for me. It's taken the stress off having to worry about food for a long time. When we go to the supermarket and we move all of this food back, if I can get a secondary fridge and put it in here, then we'll have enough food to last us for at least 3 or 4 months. I reckon there'll be that much food that it will last well beyond when the power goes out and goes rotten anyway. But that's okay. We're only putting the food in here that's perishable, so I've already dumped all of the food that's non-perishable into these other containers. And as you can see, we've half filled the fridge already, and I've still got a lot of stuff still sitting in my backpack. So we will probably have to go and locate ourselves another fridge and see if we can move it. If we can't move it, we'll still take all the stuff out of the Gigamart and we'll put it into a nearby fridge somewhere, just so that it's not wasted. But to be honest, I don't think that I'm going to need any more food than what I've got. There's at least 3 months worth of food here. What I can do is try and get my cooking skill up and try and preserve some of this. That's another possibility. Now, pickles is, despite where they're mainly found, they're actually non-perishable, so you can store them in a container, which we'll do. Anything with the word fresh next to it is something that's obviously perishable. So everything is going to go into the fridge. And the fridge is now completely full. And I've still got 22 units of weight. So let's go and find a nearby house and see if we can actually appropriate a refrigerator for our own use. And what better candidate than this house here? We'll remove the broken glass because we don't want to injure ourselves. And we'll have a little bit of a look. We just don't want to. We don't want to alert any zombie hordes though. But there should be a kitchen somewhere here. There we go. So this fridge is relatively empty, so we're going to empty the fridge. I'm going to need a screwdriver to do this, to remove the fridge, but thankfully we live in a hardware store, so that's not going to be a problem. Just got to remember where I saw it. Ah, there it is. I saw one. Screwdriver. There we go. Oops, I'd better take care of that guy, because he might end up rolling up behind us. Okay, empty out the fridge. And by selecting this pickup, we might be able to pick the fridge up. No, it doesn't have items in container. I don't know what you're talking about. Ah, there we go. There's a freezer section to the fridge. That was silly. Let's try that again. This is obviously going to be pretty heavy. Yep, pretty heavy, to say the least. But we're laughing. 2 fridges full of food. We won't need to worry about food for a very long time. So yeah, it seems like it was just a stroke of good luck going with the electrical trait. So we're going to put our other fridge over here next to the bin. And how do we rotate it? There we go. So the next challenge that we've got is to find some containers and fill them full of water, because eventually the water is going to run out. So let's get our new fridge ready to go. And we're going to Get all of our meat and we're going to put it in the freezer. That'll do the trick. This is a pretty big fridge. It has a freezer unit and it has a regular fridge. Chuck the coal back in there as well. I'll eat the mayonnaise and I'll fill that bottle with water. We've got so much food here. We won't... After we go back to the Gigamart and we get that last round of food out the back, I won't need to search for food. All we'll need after that is water. So the best place to get water containers is obviously the hardware store that we're in, but there may be some nearby stores, warehouses. Warehouses are very good because they'll often have IBCs. IBCs are large water containers, or large containers that you can fill with any liquid, but they are the biggest storage container for liquids that you can get. So definitely a couple of those would really help us. So it appears that we've had a little bit of luck come our way, because the zombies heading off and not milling around our base has essentially allowed us to fill up our fridge, and now we've got 2 fridges stocked to the brim with food. So that's fantastic. What I'll do is I'm going to eat that mayonnaise. Not the nicest meal in the world, but we've now got 3 empty bottles. I got some off some dead zombies. We're going to fill them up. And we'll, where am I going to store water? In a good place. All these are pretty full. Oh! That was careless of me. I didn't even know there was a zombie in there. And then I broke one of the cardinal rules of checking a house, to check that all the rooms in the house are clear. But I made that mistake and I didn't do it. That could have ended really, really badly for me. So we're just going to chuck all of these books away. I am going to read these books eventually, but just for now, I want to prioritize getting our items for immediate survival. I want to have a set of weapons and also have some water stowed away, as well as our food, and finally I want to get some medical supplies. Oh. Take this guy out. Okay. Now, unfortunately, we are overheated. Taking off our shirt might give us a little bit of reprieve from that. I'm going to head back up to the Gigamart, and there is a completely untapped area at the back of the Gigamart with shelves and shelves and shelves full of food. So we're going to hit those up. And I mean, look at all of this. Look at all of this food here. There's quite a lot of non-perishable food, but I'm not going to worry about that until later on. Because this food will keep. This food will all keep. I can always come back for it later on. Oh man, there's even more in here. There's just so much. Look at all of this. I don't know where all the zombies have gone. Survival axe. It's amazing how quickly our luck has turned in this game. We've actually had a really good run for the entire game. Now, an interesting thing is that some people were commenting that you can actually live in the Gigamart, and it's actually a pretty good place to live. But the main problem with that approach is that I would have to wall up the entire front section of the Gigamart. It's a lot of effort, and it would take us months of construction. So we're not going to do that. I'm pretty happy where we are at the moment. There we go. So what we've got here is essentially enough food to last us until the power goes out. Now, some people may not have played the game, and when I mention the power going out, they may not know what I'm talking about. But essentially in this game, you have water and power. So water obviously is, you turn a tap on and you get water, and power allows you to keep your food fresh, and also allows you to use things like TVs and so forth. Now in this game, eventually, because it is a zombie apocalypse and nobody's managing the power stations, the power will go out. And that can happen on day one, and all the way up to 2 or 3 months into the game. Now, if you're really lucky, you'll start the game and pretty much have no power from the outset, and that can be pretty bad. But probably the worst one is running out of water. Now, if you aren't living near a body of water, like a lake or a river, the only way you're going to be able to get water is via a water collector. And the water collector requires you to have a skill of 4 in carpentry. So that's one of the other reasons why I grabbed the carpentry book from the bookstore. But the main reason is so that I can make some weapons out of wood. We got a whole forest full of trees, so I've got plenty of opportunities to cut down some trees and fashion myself some makeshift weapons. But as you can see, more than enough food. And we've got everything we need. So we've literally cleaned out the supermarket. That food would have all gone rotten if we hadn't. There's some more food out here, but it's all refrigerated, so we're going to leave it where it is for now. This stuff isn't, though. What would have been nice would be to find some water containers, but I'm going to find some buckets and some bottles and so forth. I'm going to fill up as much water as I can. And my bag's actually nearly full again. And once again, we're actually not going to be able to store all this food in our base. Unless I want to get 3 fridges, and that's probably overkill. But, that being said, I can do it. It doesn't cost me anything, so I might actually go and get myself a 3rd fridge. We'll see how we go. If I can't fit everything in the fridge, I'll go and get another one. Now, unfortunately, it is again late in the day. We had a late start today because we did start late in the morning. I had to get some sleep to recover from our first day survival. So we've probably got about another 2 or 3 hours of daylight to burn. I'll try and be in bed before midnight. But we're just going to fill up our fridge. The meat will go in the freezer and the fruit will go in the regular container. This is a really awesome thing to be able to move a fridge. It certainly makes the game a lot easier, because usually if you don't have a fridge on the top level of your house, what you have to do is you have to store all the food either somewhere else, or you have to exist primarily off non-perishable food, which is a bit of a waste. So most houses though have a fridge of some sort though, so it's not often a big problem. But I'm telling you what is a big problem is that we've actually filled this fridge up again. Might grab the watermelon. Seems to be heavy, so we might take all the watermelons out and we'll put the other stuff in. Now it'll be interesting to see whether there is a item or a water source nearby, like a lake or a stream. If there's a stream or a lake nearby, we will be okay for water, but if not, I'll have to get a water collector going as soon as possible. They're not too hard to build if you're a carpenter, but as you know, I'm an electrician, not a carpenter, so this could be troublesome. This is going to be very hard to... It's going to be very close with what we're putting in the fridge. I think that we're not going to have enough room to put everything in. And I can hear some Zeds running around downstairs, so we might have some very angry visitors soon. So that fridge is now full. We're going to start loading the freezer up now. And hope that that's enough to store everything in there. I don't know whether storing things in the freezer will keep them longer, or whether it's just a purely aesthetic choice. Just having a freezer in the game, whether there's an effect, but the food does have a status of frozen when it's in the freezer, so I would suspect it does keep the food longer. Unfortunately, our freezer's also nearly full. I think I outdone myself this time with acquiring food. So sorry, this is a little bit boring, but it's part and parcel of survival, is securing supplies to keep you alive. So put that non-perishable food in here. Pickles are non-perishable. And looks like we've got an electronic scale. I'll just dump those there. Some sandbags, we'll dump those as well. Alrighty, so we've still got some watermelons, and we've got quite a few of them. Yeah, there's not a lot I can do. I'm going to have to go and get myself another fridge. I can't believe this. I've literally got 3 fridges full of food. Unbelievable. But we will steal a fridge from this building here, if it's open. Doesn't look like it. We'll go in here. There'll be a fridge somewhere. Oop. appears my fan club has reassembled itself. Can't get in, but we'll be able to get in through the window. I might go north a little bit because I don't want to end up getting some Zeds coming up to make this any more difficult than it has to be. Now again, I've zoomed in because it's very hard to see. Potentially could be walking into an ambush, but if I don't find a fridge, I'm going to have to take all this food back, and that's going to be an incredible waste. But I don't want to get killed over a watermelon. What I might do is check out the building to the north. I believe there's a pub around here. And pubs usually have bar fridges. It's very dark though, I can barely see what I'm doing. Oh wow, this is some tools. Okay, so that's a bar, that's not going to help. I need a proper fridge, but I think I'm going to abandon my search because it's getting a little bit risky to be running around in this sort of darkness. I can barely see what I'm doing. But even if we get a couple of items of food go off, it's no harm, no foul, really. Now, unfortunately, I made the mistake of killing those Zeds with my screwdriver, which was silly. I didn't even notice I'd pulled it out. So we better put that away. The old frying pan does a good job. Whoa! Now, because I am so heavily overweighted by a heap of watermelons, no less, that could have ended real bad for me. Killed by watermelons. That would have been a pretty bad thing to have on my gravestone. Okay, well, unfortunately we haven't had any luck. If the worst that happens is I lose a couple of watermelons, then I'll lose a couple of watermelons. I'm not too worried about that. But we'll have one last check, because I have a bit of an idea. I have an idea that might let us get the watermelons into a container. But it also means that I have to get past this giant pack of deadheads, so I don't think it's going to work. Yeah, I think we're going to abandon this. One part about this game is that you do need to know your limitations, and at the moment, if I continue, there is the chance that I may get too tired. I'm also winded because of the weight I've had of carrying around a bunch of heavy watermelons, so I'm going to take this guy out here, and I'm going to call it a day at that. It could have been a hell of a lot worse, and we're doing really well for food. So if I lose a little bit of food due to going off, then that's just something I'm going to have to live with. And the Gigamart still has a lot of food in the refrigerators there. I could potentially grab one of the display refrigerators in the Gigamart and move that into my house. But for the moment, I think we're going to call it a day. So what did we do today? We got plenty of food, and we've got some water, and we've got an extra fridge here. We've now got 2 fully stocked fridge with water, and I grabbed some of the empty water bottles we got from some Zeds, and I've also filled those up with water as well. So we've got about 3 or 4 days worth of water and probably about 3 months worth of food. If we're smart, we'll be able to make that last until the power goes out. We've also picked up some nice weapons, which I'm going to stow in my little weapon cabinet, which is here. I've got assault rifles in here, a knife, and now survival axe. So we're starting to build our weapon collection, but it's definitely not as big as what I was hoping for. So that's it for our second episode. We didn't really get a lot done today, but we did get the 2 most important things that we were looking for, which were the carpentry book and some food. In our next episode, I'm going to continue looking around the area, but most importantly, I want to start using the carpentry book. By reading that and cutting down some trees, I want to start barricading our new home, specifically putting down walls to prevent zombies from making it into areas such as this bedroom here, and making our base just a little bit more safe to live in. So as always, if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, and hopefully we'll see you for the next episode. Until next time, Skill Incarnate out.